Welcome, everybody. This is Shed to Ed. We have episode 3, Fight Night 201. This is Walker versus Hill to kick it off here.
You know, if you've been paying attention, it wasn't supposed to be Walker versus Hill. This is the co-main. This got bumped up from 3 rounds to 5. Fiziev did not get his visa in time. I don't know what was going on with that, but he's going to be headlining next month. We can look forward to Fiziev and RDA. Now, last week we had a good week. Should we get down to business?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, so even though we did lose the main card one there, so even though we did lose the Fiziev fight, I still do think that Hill and Walker is going to be all right enough for a main. Walker was pretty boring against Santos.
Hopefully these guys can bust out the stoppage. You know, we can take a quick look at their last fights. You know, Walker's coming off a loss. He's 4-3 in the UFC, so we've seen him fly high. We've seen him, we've seen the hype train get derailed. Thiago Santos pushed him back over 5 rounds. Before that, he had that round 1 stoppage over Ryan Spann, so he was riding high. And before that, he had a 3-round loss to Nikita Krylov. So he's lost over 3, he's lost over 5, and he's won in 1 round. So if we're going to look for a narrative here, it's that Walker gets it done quick or he doesn't get it done at all.
That's interesting because I was expecting it to go backwards. So I expected Hill to get it done quick, or he was going to have to stay at a distance and try and walk Walker down, though, even though he has the big reach advantage.
You know, we could see this going either way. Now, let's take a look at Hill's last 3 fights. He coming off that round 1 KO with Jimmy Crute, so they both got a first-round win in their last 3. And before that, he's coming off a first-round loss to Paul Craig. I remember that fight. Jamal got his shoulder pulled out by Craig, I believe.
Yeah, it was pretty rotten, to be totally honest with you. There, it was kind of Hill helpless with his arm snapped off, and the ref just wouldn't call it for him.
Right, I think it was like a TKO instead of a submission because of that, or some weird thing. And before that is the free fight of the week on YouTube. You can watch him beat up OSP and get that 2nd-round finish. Now we got 3 missed picks from UFC 271. So our picks were pretty good. I got 5 right. You got 6 right. I got 2 wrong. You got the 1 wrong. Now you mispicked the co-main event, right? Tuivasa Lewis.
I did, and I'm still kind of feeling it, to be totally honest with you. I really thought that Lewis was going to have it, and he did. He was winning the fight for a round and a half, and then he just 8-1. Like we said, it only takes 1 in heavyweight. 8-1, and then he was just dazed and confused going forward.
That's right. Lewis looked like the experienced guy there. You know, he had Tuivasa on the ground. I was thinking, are we going to see ground and pound Lewis emerge? And for a second there, he won the round. He won the first round, I would say.
Oh, without a doubt. And, he was on his way to win in the second before he just went to sleep.
And that's what happens at 265. And we might see something similar this week at 205. Every main event this year, however, has gone the distance. These guys might break that streak.
Let's see it.
Now, we did a couple of extra bets on top. So we did the decisions, the KOs, and the submissions. I bet that there would be 7 or more decisions. There were 8, so I picked up that win. You bet there were going to be less than 6 knockouts. You picked that up. There were only 2. And then I mispicked. I said there were going to be 2 or less submissions, and there were 4. Submission-heavy night for all the grappling fans.
Yeah, it was great. Got that locked in early.
What else are we going to cover? Oh, my 2 mispicks. I mispicked Jared Vandera. He got set back by Arlovsky. Arlovsky's 5-1 in his last 6 now, I believe. Just shutting down all these heavyweight prospects. He knows how to point fight. He's very experienced. He knows how to work the round and how to work the judges and sneak these decisions out. We shouldn't have gone with AJ Dobson because we like the name. We should have gone Malkoun. All the analysts were saying Malkoun. We should have gone Malkoun. I won't say anything more about that mispick.
Yeah, but that's okay. Enough about what we missed on, and we have a lot to cover that we hit on.
That's true. 3 missed picks, 11, correct picks. We can't get too focused on the negatives here.
Yeah, it was a big night for the favorites there, so that meant it was a big night for us. Alex Perez fight was canceled after, so that one was wiped for me.
That was first-round pick, right?
That was my very first pick, and it was canceled because he missed weight by 2 pounds, was it?
His opponent wouldn't take the fight with a purse penalty involved. He said, we're going to cancel the bout entirely. So this week, what do we got on the card? Not a lot of star power, all the star power went out with last week's card. This week, a lot of guys I haven't heard of or I haven't even seen in a while. Not a lot of name recognition.
Yeah, it's pretty much just Walker and Hill. And Hill's kind of a new guy himself, to be totally honest there.
That's true. Hill is just 3-1 in the UFC, so this will be his 5th fight, and this will be Walker's 8th fight. Chad is a Canadian though. No picture is Canadian. Jessica Rose Clark versus Stephanie Egger, however, I am interested in. I even jotted down some stats. We got Jessie Jess, as she's known, is 4-2 in the UFC, so she's established herself at that women's 135-pound division. And then Egger's 1-1 in the UFC, so she's plus 160, definitely a live dog, and I think she's going to see a big test in Jessica Rose Clark. And if she can get through Jessica Rose, that'll be a big win for her cap, a big feather in her cap. Again, none of these prelims are ringing a bell. Pierce, Rodriguez, Batista, Taha. I don't know these guys. Can't pretend to know these guys.
Nerd Limb Central right here, isn't it?
This is, yeah, if you are big on the tapology, the sure dog, the deeper cuts of the fights, have at it. Buckley, they say you live by the highlight reel, you die by the highlight reel. He had that crazy win over, do you remember the guy's name?
Was that the spinning back heel hook?
That was the spinning back kick, yeah. Impa Kasanganai. He caught Impa Kasanganai with that second round spinning back kick. Impa caught Joaquin's foot, so he did this spinning back kick thing and knocked him out cold. And then 2 fights later, he was out in the first round due to a head kick. So you live by the highlight reel, you die by the highlight reel. And we've got Jim Miller. Sorry?
Oh, I was just going to say these kind of highlights and explosive plays, they kind of skew people's judgments a lot of times. You can see these people betting on Joaquin Buckley just because they seen one highlight on YouTube or wherever and just assume he's going to do that every time, but sometimes just gets blown out.
It depends on where the money is, like who's betting that week. Other sports can influence the market. You know, if it's big basketball or big football week, there's more people playing the market overall. Or if there's been a drought of sport, you'll see more people rush to bet the fights, and that can skew the money line. And like you said, if someone gets a flashy win, that can bring more money to their side as well.
Yeah, a lot of times you see that, and then they get matched up above their head, and head kick round 2.
Big time. Sometimes the UFC will even throw someone good in front of somebody to slow down their momentum, as we've seen time and time again.
That's true.
So we've got Mata and Miller. Miller is the solid veteran. I think he has like 35 plus UFC fights to his name. He's seen it all. He's done it all. And plus 155, definitely a live dog price.
Yeah, we'll see if that's worth taking then.
First pick overall, Mr. Parker Porter. My boy. Parker Porter came into the UFC against Chris Daukaus. That was a wicked fight. I think Parker realized he had to get his cardio and dialed in after that one. It was a first-round fight, just super intense. And then we've seen a more measured Parker Porter. He knows how to move. He knows how to work the cage. He knows how to hit and hopefully not get hit. And that's what I'm betting on this week in my first pick overall. And then the co-main and the main, we got Kyle Daukaus and Jamie Pickett. Now, I watched Jamie Pickett's Contender Series fight. Just seems like he got a guy less experienced than him, and he just worked it on the ground. He worked it on the feet, and he beat the guy down. Now, you were watching some Kyle Daukaus tape. What did you notice about Kyle?
Yeah, so I noticed Kyle was pretty technically sound. He got a good chin on him. I was watching the fight against, was it Brandon Allen? I think it was. Brandon Allen got a good few shots on him, got a solid knee to the chin in the first minute of the fight, and Kyle was feeling for the rest of it, but he was never out. He probably lost 2 of those rounds, the first 2 rounds, but he was still in the fight deep in the round 3. He was still trying to sub Brandon Allen deep in the round 3. So I don't think he's going to be out of it by any means. I think he's going to be the better wrestler over Jamie Pickett. I just think he's got a lot more experience than him, and I think he's got a lot more technicality to him. I don't think he's going to let Jamie strike him from afar, and I don't think he's going to let Jamie control him on the ground at all. I think Kyle Daukaus is probably going to take it to decision and win by
interesting.
Decision.
You look at their professional records, and Pickett's 13-6, and Daukaus is only 10-2. But 13-6 isn't like an amazing looking record, and Pickett's got less experience in the octagon. On the big stage, maybe Daukaus has had a bit more exposure to the higher level competition, and like you said, against a guy like Brandon Allen, who's no slouch, if he can stay in that fight for all 3 rounds, his experience might shine through.
Yeah, it's always confusing, like looking at these combined records there, because someone could be 10-2, and then they're 2-0 in UFC, or someone's 13-6, but they've only fought 3 times in the UFC, something like that. I don't know what it is for these fighters. Don't know if you know.
I think this is where we're going to see which one gets we're going to see a trajectory thing start to build here. If Daukaus gets the win, he's going to get to start fighting up. If Pickett gets the win, we might see Daukaus's shine pull back a bit. I think it's a lot of wait and see here. These are just prospects. We're going to see where they fit in the division, because this is catchweight, 195 pounds, short notice fight. co-main slot because it got bumped up a bit. So hopefully it should be a good display of skill and talent here.
Yeah, hopefully. I really do hope that Kyle kind of shines through here and gets his name out there a little bit more too.
Good stuff. And then we got the main event, Johnny Walker plus 200, Jamal minus 250. Minus 250 is a bit steep on Jamal Hill.
No, he's a new fighter-ish. You know, he's still 30 years old, but he's only got 10 or 11 fights on him now. Johnny Walker's been around for a long time. He's been fighting. And if you look at a guy like Johnny Walker, he's got his defense kind of down there. He's patient. He waits for it, and he'll strike from afar. He'll use his 82-inch reach, which is insane. But I think Jamal Hill's going to have to come in aggressive. Maybe he does, and maybe he's going to get him. But he needs to get the hands working, and he needs to get past all of the leg kicks that Walker's planning on throwing at him.
That's a good point. I think this is a proper test for Walker. Thiago Santos is a serious guy in that division, and the fact that he went the 5 rounds with him, it's interesting, showing a new level to Johnny Walker's strategy. You know, we've seen him come in. I think he was joyous when he lost a decision because he managed to last the 3 rounds in one of his recent fights. But where I think we're going to start to see, hopefully, an emergence of Walker. If he wins this fight, he'll be 5-3 in the UFC. It's a pretty okay record. You know, he's got some talent blossoming. He could put together a win, maybe get that momentum back, because things are a bit shaky for him right now. If people start to get rocked, this could go either way. You know, if these guys start to land, they're going to just turn it up to 11, and I'm sure the promoters are hoping for that.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's going to be a pretty good fight. I hope it's going to be a pretty good fight. Walker did say that he's looking to be explosive and unpredictable this time, especially after the last fight against Santos was boring and slow. Jamal Hill is always looking to come out swinging. He is very aggressive, lets in a lot of strikes against him, but lands a lot of strikes. So if they do come out stringing and the fists are flying, I do think Hill will end up taking it. Even though Walker did say that he's going to try and come out and be explosive, I still think he's going to try and be patient and pick his spots.
Yeah, you know, promoting the fight, talking large is one thing, but like we saw with Sean Strickland, Sean talks crazy just to get in there and work the jab, fight intelligently and manage the distance and just fight, you know, a high IQ fight. So the talk is one thing. We'll see what happens on Saturday night.
Yeah, absolutely.
With that, let's take a look at the picks. Now, like I said, Parker Porter was my first overall. Here are the odds for this week. Got some heavier underdogs. We've got a couple of pretty close fights as well. You know, Jim Miller 235, Benitez 220, Razak Alisson 225, Gloria 195. And then I call Johnny Walker this 275 price. I just call him a live dog at that price. You know, it's definitely got some fight in him to only get that 275 price point.
Yeah, I look at a lot of these, and if you think a guy is about 50-50 and he's coming in at 275 odds, I mean, that's a bet that you take all day just for the price.
Definitely. Maybe not parlay, but you can just bet the one line.
Yeah, it's definitely a parlay buster, but, you know, good single bet.
And like I said, Parker Porter first. Let's go.
Parker Porter. Yeah, and I'll just take the top one here, the biggest favorite on the board, Jonathan Pierce.
That's heavy odds.
It is, and this is not one that I would take against the bookie, even though it is the first smells tells of the night. So this is a
smelly pick.
This is a smelly pick, yeah. So Smelly was pretty high on Jonathan Pierce. I think when I was doing up the spreadsheet here, I mixed up the odds for Christian and Jonathan there, and Smelly jumped all over it and didn't understand why he was such a dog, but he just knows that he's going to dominate. Pierce is going to dominate Rodriguez here.
So you ran a typo in your betting odds, and he picked up on it because he's high on John Pierce. That's a guy that knows his fighters. So Batista, I think a lot of our bets, we just work our way down the card. Shouts out to Chad for being Canadian. Like to see that, like to track that on the podcast. No eds to be found, though, however.
No eds to be found.
And like we were talking earlier, you took Kyle Dawkins. You like what you see in Kyle.
Yeah, I like what I see. You know, Jamie Pickett's, he's not a bad fighter, but he's picking this fight up at short notice there because Kyle's previous opponent was out. Who was that again? But yeah, I do think Kyle's gonna take this match. Yeah, so this one's gonna go 3 rounds pretty much on the mat, I expect. Not saying that Kyle's a bad striker or anything like that. He can certainly hold his own, but I think he's gonna get him down, wear him out. And
Interesting. You see that a lot in a short notice fight. The other guy will try to use his improved training, conditioning to maybe score a wrestling based decision. We saw it when Paul Felder got taken with RDA. RDA just worked the wrestling for 5 rounds.
yeah, so you were watching Jamie Pickett there in Contender Series, like, and you said that he was wrestling there.
Yeah, he did a little bit of wrestling, and then his opponent had no gas left in the
Oh,
tank. So maybe we'll see the opposite happen. Maybe we'll see Jamie get that gas tank burned out by Dawkins.
yeah, that's possible too, and maybe we'll see a good test for what Jamie can do on the ground.
It's definitely a fight to look forward to. It's in that co-main slot. I took Chaz Skelly. I took a look at these guys' records, and I think Skelly justifies the 145 price point. And I wasn't too certain about Jamal Hill or Chad, so I skipped to those. And I'm basically going to work my way down the odds, taking the favorites for the rest of this draft. And I think you did similar.
I pretty much did similar. I didn't know a lot of these guys, besides the main and co-main. A lot of these guys weren't ringing bells for me. So I was just kind of working my way down the odds too, taking people that had consensus picks on them, or taking people that were advised, or basically just taking the next biggest favorite. That being said, I did take the 136 Chad, the Canadian Chad here, and
Yes.
so Canadians so far are about 4-1 since we started in the past 3 episodes, in episode 0, 1, 2. So 4-1 for Canadians, and Chad with a heavy favorite, I think, is just going to keep the streak going.
Sounds good. I took Jessica Rose Clark. 4-2. I like to see that. She's got the experience. She's got the wins. Egger, untested, 6-2. Not a lot of experience. Don't like to see that too much. And the money doesn't lie. The implied probability is that Jessica Rose takes it.
Yeah, that's true. So now I was talking to Smelly about that fight there. He was saying that Stephanie Egger basically has no takedown defense, and if she gets down, she's not going to get back up. So look for Jessica Rose Clark to try and just work her out on the mat there.
This could be a wrestling heavy card.
Yeah. So, in my conversation there, he did mention Nicholas Mata was going to take it over Jim Miller too. So Jim Miller, we know he's a vet, but Nicholas Mata's got that young energy. He's going to bring it and win this week.
I watched one of Jim's recent losses, and I am a bit hesitant to take Jim, and he can get worn out if the guy's younger, better conditioned, just a equal skill match. The man is well worn. Being a veteran can only get you so far when the age starts to creep away from you. When the guys have that 10, 12-year age advantage, I'm going to double check the age advantage of the age gap in this fight. But when there's a big age difference at play, that can make a difference.
Yeah, so there's a 9-year age gap there. So Jim Miller's coming in 38 years old. Nicholas Mata, 29. So look for him to just wear him out there.
Now, that's still within half plus 7, so we are safe.
We are safe.
After that, I took David Onama over Benitez, and you took Buckley over Alassane.
Yeah, I still did take Buckley, the highlight reel.
He's got skills. He wins fights. That's all it can take sometimes.
That's it.
And then Belbita over to Paula. I did a little reading, checked out some analysts, and they seem to be leaning Belbita this week. And that leaves you with the main event.
And yeah, so the main event, even though Hill's in at 143, it's not really a price point that either of us like against Johnny Walker. And both of us were kind of leaving it intentionally just because we weren't so sure about the results of the event. So I'm just going to go with the more experienced guy here, and I'm just going to take Johnny Walker. He's got the bigger reach. I think he's going to wait him out and try and force Jamal to make a mistake or get in too close in his range and get him. If Johnny Walker is saying that he's looking to be more explosive or more unpredictable, maybe he's going to hit him with something crazy. Maybe he's going to hit him with a spinning elbow or a spinning kick, or just look for anything different and weird that maybe Jamal Hill hasn't seen yet in his short career.
That's a good point. He's done it before. He can do it again. We aren't just, speaking from wishes and dreams here. We've seen Johnny Walker end fights within that first 60 seconds.
Yeah, that's true. One thing that I did notice about it, not a lot of work on the ground for either one of them. It looks like Johnny Walker only averages about a quarter of a takedown per 3 rounds.
Yeah, I don't think Johnny's going to go for the takedown. That is a long guy. His ability to hold somebody down, I don't think it's compatible with his body type, frankly. And that reach advantage, you're giving all that up when you go to the ground.
That's true too, yeah. Yep, and I don't think Hill is going to be able to take him down. Or I don't. Well, maybe he's going to shoot for some takedowns. Maybe that's going to be part of his camp strategy. But I don't know if he's going to have the skills to really work him, do very much down on the ground with Walker there.
We could see the idea of points-based takedowns come into play, especially in that 5 rounds. You know,
Yeah,
the corner. We're in Vegas. We're at the Apex. It's a quiet stadium. We're going to see a lot of coaching. Maybe get to that last minute, shoot for the takedown, and if you can secure it, that's good points on the card. You can steal that last minute of the round and sway the judges.
yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah.
And that's our picks this week. You know, we don't have a lot to say about the card. We're going to see how the odds play and how our picks play against each other.
Yep, looking pretty good there. Looking to stack another good week on top of last week, where we only missed, say, 3 outcomes between us out of 14 fights. So we're looking to hit a lot of our 12 picks this week.
That's right. Now, I said I wanted to finish that quick look at the 185-pound division. I'm going to do it. The rankings have been updated. Adesanya took the decision win. Jared Cannonier took the stoppage win. Jared's going to get that next title shot.
That's going to be a good fight. I'm pretty excited for that. I was pretty excited when Izzy even called it out. After his own fight, they said, who do you want next? If you watch Jared Cannonier's fight last week, you know that he deserves a shot at the title there, and that's going to be a sick fight. Tune in probably June, I think, is when he said he wanted to do it. So we'll check back in a few months.
Definitely. So right now, Paulo Costa and Sean Strickland are tied for 5th place in the rankings. Sure, I don't make them up. I just report them. Like I said, Strickland doesn't have any fights in that top 5 yet. Costa has a loss to Vettori and a loss to Izzy. That's the champ and the number 3. And then moving to Brunson, he's got a loss to the champ, to the number 1, and to the number 2. Gatekeeper Brunson is real. We saw him knock back the Darren Till hype train. We saw him knock back the Kevin Holland hype train. And then we saw all of that hype go right into Jared Cannonier for the title shot.
Yeah, so the Derek Brunson, so he's a gatekeeper. So he can't, he's kind of stuck where he is because he can't beat anybody that's better than him, as we just seen against Jared Cannonier. But he's keeping everybody else out of the top 5.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of gatekeepers through the years. Yeah, Cowboy Cerrone used to be the fight. They used to say Cowboy lost the big fight. You'd see Mark Hunt at heavyweight for a while, was almost like 50-50 in his fights. So he'd let, the exceptional fighters through and he'd beat back all the contenders. In a way, Arlovsky is the gatekeeper to the rankings of the heavyweight division. He kind of floats around that 15 slot, knocking people back. Onward to 3-2-1. Marvin Vettori has 2 losses to Izzy. He's not getting a title shot for a while. But he beat Paulo Costa and he beat Jack Hermanson, so we kind of kept them out of the top 5. But I wouldn't go as far to call him a gatekeeper at all. He's just too new. We haven't really seen where Marvin Vettori fits into the division yet. A couple more fights to maybe see where he slots in. And then we've got Jared Cannonier. He's got a loss to Whitaker. So he was kind of hoping that Izzy could beat Whitaker, because sometimes you can have your losses erased in that way. Like if you have a loss to a guy who ends up retiring, it can kind of make your record look a bit better against the active fighters. And Jared's there for a reason. He beat Derek, he beat Jack Hermanson, and he beat Kelvin Gastelum 4, 7, and 10 with a loss to number 1. So he's right there in the number 2 in the rankings. And then Rob Whitaker. He's got 2 losses to Izzy. So again, his title aspirations are definitely on the back burner for now. But he's got a lot of wins in that rankings. He's got a win over number 2, number 4, number 9, and number 10. So with that, Izzy has 7 wins in the top 5, and everyone he's beaten has wins in the rest of the top 10. So Izzy has 1st-degree wins or 2nd-degree wins over the entire top 10 of the 185 division. And if he beats Jared Cannonier, that'll be the case, sorry.
Yeah, and he's never actually lost to anybody in the 185 division. His only professional loss was at, 205 against Jan Blachowicz, right?
Yeah, right now that's the case. He's got a split decision over Vettori the first time, and then he beat him 50-45 the second. So I think the door's been shut on that case. And how did we do on that Super Bowl? How did we do on those picks? I know that you said you didn't like that -4 spread. 3 points for the Rams. Got to take that money line. And you said under 48. We hit under 48.
Yeah, it was pretty tight for both of them. We needed some last-minute help there to get over the Bengals 20 points there. So there was a last 2-minute touchdown. Unfortunately, it was 1 yard, so I did lose one of my props on that one there. But my props did work out pretty decent. So besides hitting, the Rams money line and not the spread, and hitting the under 48.5. And we had Stafford rushed for 6 yards. His prop was over 5.5, so he did that beautifully. Burrow never threw a pick. I did expect him to, but he got sacked 9 times. So instead of throwing the ball when he was under pressure, he just ate it. So that's all you can do there. What I did call was my reverse engineered coin flip parlay. So I knew that since he was going to lose the game, so I called them to win the coin toss because that happens often, and for LA to score first. So I parlayed them together, and it worked out great with an Odell Beckham touchdown to start off the game there. Unfortunately, I took a few props on Odell Beckham. I knew he was going to come out flying, and he did until he tore his ACL in the first half there. Prayers up for him. He's going to be strong next year when he's back, but unfortunately, none of the props related to Odell Beckham hit there. And the final one to touch on was Evan McPherson. This was the biggest lock ever. Evan McPherson over 7.5 points, and I think he's just scored 8.
Ooh, that's tight. Let's not forget, you didn't take this bet, but National Anthem over hit. So all the folks who bet on that National Anthem running long.
Look at that. Beautiful. Yeah, I didn't keep track of that one. So one other thing that I did say I was going to do was I was going to live bet on the coin toss loser. So the Rams lost the coin toss. So I was going to live bet on the Rams, but then they scored pretty early. They were the first to score. I waited until late in the third quarter to actually live bet the Rams. What I actually got was a Rams plus 6.5, and they ended up winning by 3. So that was a very easy bet on the live bet there.
Nice one. You got Rams plus 6. You got them as a dog.
I got them Rams plus 6.5 while they were losing by 6.
Nice. Right now, you're up. You had yourself a good week of Super Bowl picks. You had those good picks. My couple of missed picks combined with a pretty accurate set for $271 puts you ahead $30 right now. We're going to cash that out and square up if you can win this week. If not, we'll keep that balance running.
Yeah, well, I'm going to make it happen. I'm not a huge fan of my draft, to be totally honest with you there, but I think it's just because I don't know a lot of the people. I think a lot of the guys that I've been reading about and a lot of the guys that Smelly is high on, they're going to come out and prove why I'm ahead, really.
Yeah, if you start taking a look at guys' records pre-UFC, you kind of have to do a little deep dive and look at the records of their opponents. So a guy can be 8-1, but his opponents can be 15-30.
Yeah, exactly. It was funny enough, just to sidetrack there for a second, Denver Broncos in the NFL, they started off about 3-0 or 4-0 or something like that last year, but they beat the 3 worst teams in the league. And then they ended up like going on this massive losing streak. So you had to look deeper into who the wins are against as opposed to just if they're wins or losses.
And that's what we do here. You want to do betting analysis, right? You don't want to just say the highest ranked guy beats the lowest ranked guy or the betting favorite wins every fight. There's levels to this.
Yeah, so if Johnny Walker is pleased going 3 rounds and taking a fight to decision, and that shows growth as a fighter, this just means that he's ready to take his fight to the next level there against his next opponent, and then we'll see a big showing from him the next time. So I think he took a long fight against Santos to decision, 5 rounds there, and I think he's going to take that experience into the octagon against Jamal Hill and get that W that way.
You know, the optimist likes to say you either win or you learn. Hopefully he's learned a lot in his last couple of fights, win or lose, and we're going to see that experience shine through. Tune into the fights on Saturday. Tune in next week for Shed to Ed, and maybe we'll get that name flipped back to Ed to Shed.
But for now, it's Shed to Ed.
We had ourselves a quick draft, pretty straightforward. We're going to see how this straightforward strategy plays out when there's not a lot of emotion behind the fighters. Sometimes you can think more clearly and pick the fights you want to pick. I hope that's the case for me, at least.